Holly, and I am back with another book review today. Today we will be reviewing The Big Sort by Bill Bishop. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, The Big Sort by Bill Bishop. Why the clustering of like-minded America is tearing us apart. I did the last book, I listened to the audiobook, which was actually really good. I think the book is 12 or 12 hours long, I believe. So yeah, you can knock it out in a day or two. So yeah, let's jump right in. So first, the book. I'll tell you what The Big Sort covers. The Big Sort is about how America is becoming more. America is becoming more group like. Like they're building every group polarization. That's the term that he used. So everyone is becoming their own group who has their own ideas. So and like it's kind of separating it. So people are moving to neighborhoods that where people who live there have the same ideas as them, or they have the same beliefs. They're sending their children to schools that parents will send their parents who have the same ideas as them will send their children. So they're not really communicating with people of other ideas. So on a political term, it would be like people moving to neighborhoods who are Republicans with other Republicans, or moving to neighborhood with other Democrats or other independent parties or liberals or conservatives. It would be like that on a political standpoint. And for the most part, I that is just from the beginning of that is very true. Like not my high school, because my high school is different. It's like it's a magnet school, so we don't have sports, and that kind of eliminates all the little cliques and groups because everyone it's a small school at that, so everyone kind of knows each other. So but in different high schools, like bigger high schools where they have sports, you can um you can you can you can connect that to like how they have the cheerleaders and the football players, they sit with each other, or the nerds, so to say, they sit with each other, or like the gamers, they sit with each other, and so on and so on. So it's something of that nature. And let's see what my notes say. The first idea is that no one wants to be an outcast. The first idea that I came up with is no one wants to be an outcast. So that's why this happens. People want to feel comfortable and want to feel safe. So they will go to they will go to groups that have the same beliefs, that say the same, that believe the same things as they do, because no one wants to be an outcast and no one wants to be the minority. So if they go to a group where everyone thinks the same, they're not the minority in that group. They're the majority because everyone thinks the same there. But being a minority in the majority, it will cause for awkwardness because you'll try to speak and no one else will think the same way you think. So it's just like, does my opinion even matter? And you can kind of see that with voting, because Houston voted Democrat for Hillary Clinton, but Texas as a whole voted for Trump. So you can see that there, where it's like well, in Houston, Democrat is the majority, but in Texas, Republican is the majority. So Houston is the minority amongst the majority, and it'll make you feel like your opinion doesn't matter because yeah, Trump's the one. But yeah, and I can see through time. The book gave many examples as like as time changes, you can see different groups and the changes in the groups, and I feel that has a lot to do with advances in technology, because I think one of the examples was the Scopes trial, where John Scopes, or I think his name was John Scopes, he got convicted for teaching evolution in Tennessee, where evolution was banned. So in Tennessee is one of the southern states. So it's a more conservative state because it's not very advanced in technology, and especially in this town where it was a small town, and it was like a small town, so it wasn't really advanced in technology as far as other states would be, like New York maybe. It would be, so where New York, where they were open to teaching evolution or teaching Christianity, or even saying that yes, I'm a Christian but I can still teach evolution, because they had more connections and more outlooks other than the South. So you can see that with technology and advances, your ideas can change, and then your groups will change. Mm. And then, so another problem with homogeneous groups, that's being that meaning where everyone in the group believes the same thing. So Democrats believe the same thing and Republicans believe the same thing. So they are in itself a homogeneous group. So homogeneous groups, they believe, they'll since they don't interact with other groups, they will think other that the other group that's not them, they will begin to think other, like, stereotypical ideas, or create stereotypes or stigmas about this group that they don't really know much about because they don't talk about them, but it's really just from their ideas of what they're hearing. So, like, with Democrats, they'll think all Republicans voted for Trump. All Republicans, they don't care. They want to get rid of welfare. All Republicans want to do this or that. Or with the Republicans, they'll begin to think that all Democrats, they just want to live on welfare. They just want tax to tax the wealthier people, or they want free things, and that's not necessarily true, because if they sit down and talk to one another, they'll begin to see that, oh, well, we do want welfare, but we don't everyone doesn't want to live on welfare. We want welfare for this and this reason. And then they'll have that conversation, and then you can see that, so I think that homogeneous groups, they're not necessarily the worst thing, but they can create this groupthink idea where it's like everything could go, like, out of control, and it will be kind of like a Hitler situation where they just want to take control and they want to eliminate everything that's not them. That's worst case scenario, slippery slope. But if you have homogeneous groups, I feel that it's necessary to also create a heterogeneous group where they can talk, where all these groups or representative from these groups can come together and talk about their ideas. So it's not just like they're secluding themselves to their own space and talking about their own ideas, whereas, like, instead of coming together with other people who think differently from you and talking about, okay, this is what my group thinks, and this is what we believe, and this is what this group believes, and this is what this group believes. And that's kind of what the government is, where they have homogeneous groups like the Republicans and Democrats, and then they come together in the Senate, and they come together in the Senate and, like, think about, and they just talk about what needs to be done. And another thing that I thought was interesting in the book when I was listening to it, was when it was about the judges. Like, if a conservative judge is on the board with a Republican or a liberal judge, they will vote more liberally. Like, if majority is liberal and he's the only conservative judge, he will begin to vote more liberally. Or if vice versa, if it's a liberal judge on board with all conservative judges, he will decide to vote more conservatively. And I think that's why it is important to have a mixture of judges like an even mixture of judges on the board, because that will be, then you can see what the true outcome is, not like a biased outcome. So that's really important. And then today, with the group polarization in America, you can begin to see what states will vote what party. So during election time, you could see people would already know, okay, Texas is mostly Republican, so that's going to be a Republican state. Or Florida, they kind of vote either way, but most of the times they've been voting a Democrat. So it's more like a swing state, but you can kind of guess what state will vote what. So that's the dangers of it, because most you'll begin to guess which states, and people who are running for office, they won't really go to other states. Like, okay, Hillary didn't necessarily come to Texas as much because she was just like, okay, Texas is majority Republican, so I'm not really going to spend my time there. I'm going to spend my time on other states where I know that I can get where I can get their vote, and I can get their outlook. So, but I really do feel that is why America is so lusted after, because everyone everyone in America has their own idea, and there's a place for everyone in America. So even if it is a homogeneous group, everyone has their own group. There is a place for everyone in America, whether you are gay, whether you are straight, whether you are somewhere in between, whether you're black, white, purple, blue, or green. There's a group for you, and I feel like that's why America is so lusted after, because it is a melting pot, and that's how we got our original 13 colonies, because we didn't. No one, even then, they thought differently, so they wanted to make their own state where everyone who thought like them could have their own state. That's why we are the United States, and we're not just a bunch of cities together. Even in cities, you can see in cities where people are more conservative, where people are more conservative, and they will have where the cities are more conservative, like Houston. It's a very liberal city. It's art. It's free, and it's very open. But say if you go further south of Texas, you will begin to see where it's super conservative, and it's like super, where it's just like, it's conservative, it's super Christian, it's super religious, and you can see those changes even amongst the cities. But amongst the states is a much greater change, because you can go from Texas, which is majority conservative, like I said, and then go to Florida, where it is liberal across the board pretty much, and you could see the difference. um I think through time, we begin to experience of its own natural regroup, because at one point people wanted a very strong government, or they wanted a very strong government, so they will opt for a very strong government. This everything was, if it didn't go past the government, we don't want it. But as times passed and scandals came, and people started to lose trust in their government, like with the Watergate scandal, excuse me, like with the Watergate scandal, people began to lose trust in the government. So they don't want a strong government anymore. They wanted a looser government, because they didn't know what the government could do, or what the government had planned for them. So they started to lose trust in the government, and they didn't really want that strong or strength that they had. So I think through time, opinions and re I think opinions change, and then there's a natural regroup of people, because they start to believe in different things. Because at one point, no one, very few people were like on the side of gay rights, and they thought this group, the minority at the time, was like, okay, this is what we believe in, and we're going to believe in this, and this is what we support. But the majority was just like, no, it's wrong, and it shouldn't be allowed. But as time passed, technology advanced, the world became more aware, the minority became the majority. It slowly became the majority where now that it is legal for them to get married, and it is opening up many doors. We have pride festivals, more pride festivals than we used to have. So I feel that as time changes, there is a natural regroup, and eventually the minority will become the majority. So yeah, I believe that is all, and thank you for watching.